Do you remember the night before your first day leading people? Maybe it was your first year as a head coach. Maybe it was the morning you walked into the front office as an assistant principal for the first time. Maybe you just got handed the keys to a store, a classroom, a team. Somebody said, "Good luck." Here's what nobody tells you: the next 30 days will quietly decide how the next 3 years go. Not because of one big speech, not because of one big decision, because of 100 small ones. The way you walk in the room, the way you respond when someone messes up, whether you set the tone or just react to whatever tone's already there. I'll never forget one of my first seasons as a head coach. I was so worried about some of the stuff, the lineup, the rotation, the game plan, that I missed what actually mattered. About 2 weeks in, one of my seniors showed up late to practice. Again. And I had a choice: let it slide because I liked the kid and didn't want that confrontation, or say something and risk the team not respecting me. I didn't stick to what was in our manual. Right there, in front of everyone, I wasn't consistent with what I'd said on day one. That team went on to have one of the worst seasons of my career. Not because of the one moment, but because I wasn't consistent. They trusted my knowledge, but they didn't trust that I'd follow through on things that I said. That's why today I'm giving you a care checklist for your first 30 days, built on the same framework Paul Weinheimer and I wrote about and how to leave a lasting legacy through care. 4 pillars, 4 checkpoints, everything you need to walk in like you've done this before, even if it's your very first time. Let's get into it. Before we get into that checklist, you need to understand why this window of time matters so much. People are watching you closer in your first month than they ever will again. Your team, your staff, your players, they're not listening to what you say yet. They don't know you well enough to trust your words. They're watching what you do. Are you consistent, or do you change with your mood? Do you follow through, or do things slide? Do you treat the quiet kid in the back the same way you treat the star player? People don't remember your first speech. They remember your first month. Every leader gets a clean slate on day one. What you do in the next 30 days writes the first page of your story. And most people never get a second first impression. So let's build it on purpose. 4 pillars: compete with character, acquire an attitude of gratitude and greatness, respect and responsibility, engage enthusiastically. Care. Checkpoint number 1: do what you say you'll do every time, even the small stuff. New leaders often think character shows up in the big moments. It doesn't. It shows up in starting the meeting on time, even when only 3 people are there, following through on a promise you made in passing that you think they forgot, admitting when you don't know something instead of bluffing. Early in my coaching career, I told my team the practice started at 3:15, not 3:20, not whenever everyone trickles in, 3:15. About a week later, I had a parent meeting run long, and I showed up 4 minutes late to my own practice. I could have brushed past it. Nobody would have said anything to my face, but I stood in front of those kids and said, "I told you 3:15 matters. I was late. That's on me. And tomorrow we start at 3:15 even if I'm not here yet, because the standard doesn't depend on me being in this room or on this field." Then I did my 12 push-ups for being late, 3 for every minute late. I watched that team start holding each other accountable to the same line for the rest of the year. They didn't need me to enforce it anymore. They'd watch me hold it against myself first. Here's the checkpoint for your first 30 days. Pick one standard you'll never bend on, and bend on nothing else. Maybe it's punctuality. Maybe it's how people talk to each other in the room. Whatever it is, hold that line every single day, publicly, the same way for everyone. That's how trust gets built before you've earned a track record. Not with a speech about your values, with proof. Second pillar, second checkpoint. In your first 30 days, learn names and learn stories. This sounds simple. It isn't. New leaders get so focused on proving themselves that they forget the fastest way to build trust isn't talking, it's noticing. Learn every name on your team or staff in week 1. Full names, correctly pronounced. Ask one personal, real question to each person in your first 2 weeks. Not "how's it going?" Something specific. Say thank you out loud in front of others for something small you saw someone do well. Gratitude becomes a responsibility, not a reward. When you're grateful for the people who got you here and help you stay here, amazing things can happen. When I was a young teacher, my department head, Kathleen Wern, a lady who'd been teaching for almost 25 years at that point, stopped me in the hallway during my 3rd week. She didn't ask how my classes were going in some generic way. She said, "I heard you stayed after with that kid in 4th period yesterday. That matters more than you know. I have no idea how she knew that, but I thought about that hallway conversation for years to come. It told me someone was actually paying attention, not just to my lesson plans, but to who I was becoming as a teacher. I tried to carry that forward with every new coach and teacher I mentored after that. You'd be amazed what happens when you notice the small thing that you think nobody saw. People don't become loyal to leaders who are impressive. They become loyal to leaders who see them. That happens in the first 30 days, or it usually doesn't happen at all. By the way, this checkpoint, the coaching mistake story, all of it comes straight out of 4 lessons in my self-paced course, Living a Legacy. If you want the full lesson with the workbook page that walks you through owning your own mistakes as a leader, it's linked below. All right, final checkpoint. Bring full energy to the boring stuff, especially in week 1. Here's the trap new leaders fall into. They save their energy for the big moments, the first speech, the first game, the first presentation, and they coast through the small, unglamorous tasks, paperwork, setup, the 15 one-on-one meetings of the week. But here's what your team's actually watching. Do you bring the same energy to the boring tasks as you do the spotlight moments? Show up early and prepared, even if the meetings are things nobody else cares about. Treat the 5th conversation of the day with the same energy as the first. Find one moment each day in your first 30 to genuinely celebrate someone else's win. I worked with a coach earlier in my career who never let you see the difference between a Tuesday film session in October and a playoff game in November. Same energy, same focus, same intensity walking into a boring equipment room conversation as he had walking into a championship locker room. I used to think that was just his personality. It wasn't. I watched him choose it day after day, especially on the days nobody else was watching closely. I tried to carry that into my own classroom and dugout for 30 years, bringing the same energy to grading a stack of essays at 9 p.m. as I did at a Friday night game. Kids and players notice that. They might not say it out loud, but they notice. Energy is always noticed. Excellence is remembered. Your enthusiasm in the small moments is what tells people whether you actually care or whether you're just performing for the moments that get it noticed. So, here's your care checklist and challenge for the next 30 days. Compete with character. Pick one standard, hold it for everyone every day. Acquire gratitude. Learn every name, ask real questions, and say thank you out loud. Respect and responsibility. Own your first mistake fast, publicly, no excuses. Engage enthusiastically. Bring full energy to the boring stuff, not just the spotlight. Remember, you don't have to be perfect. In your first 30 days, nobody expects that. Not your team, not your staff, not your players. What they're watching for is whether you're consistent. That's the whole game. Not perfection, consistency. I wish somebody handed me this list back when I was 24-year-old assistant coach, terrified I was going to mess it all up. I figured most of this out the hard way over 30 years. One mistake and one good decision at a time. You don't have to take 30 years to figure this out. You got the checklist right now. If you want to go deeper than a checklist, if you want the full system with all 5 lessons, real stories, and workbook pages that walk you through the building this into a habit instead of a one-time video, that's exactly what I built Living a Legacy for. It's a self-paced course based on the same care framework from the book Paul Weinheimer and I wrote together, How to Leave a Lasting Legacy Through Care. It's for teachers, coaches, and leaders who don't just want to survive their first 30 days, they want to develop the kind of people under them who make a true impact consistently long after day 30 is over. You'll find the link for Living a Legacy in the description below, or you can head straight to the store at thepayhip.com/ACSN Digital Store. And if you're newer to the channel, hit subscribe. We're building this library one lesson at a time for teachers, coaches, and leaders who want to build something that lasts. I'll see you in the next one. I'm Coach Bob Herb.